Good morning, everyone. I'm grateful to be here with you from the territories of the Lekwungen-speaking peoples of the Esquimalt and Songhees First Nations. The past few months have been very difficult for everyone, including the approximately 63,000 people who are involved in putting food on our tables. Farmers, ranchers, fishers, harvesters, and processors. COVID-19 has meant there is no such thing as business as usual. It has disrupted the workforce to a point that we're expecting a shortfall of approximately 6,000 to 8,000 seasonal agricultural laborers across BC this year. COVID-19 has brought into focus for many of us our province's food security. It has shone a bright light on the need for our province to become more self-sufficient, more sustainable, and resilient. We continue to work hard with this in mind by encouraging farming through Grow BC, by moving more grown and processed foods into places like our hospitals through Feed BC, and creating the demand for local products by showing consumers like you what we produce and making it easy for you to identify those products with Buy BC. We are focused on BC's food supply, but we know that we need more people involved to help us. So today is a very exciting day that builds on our efforts to create a more resilient food supply. We're here to launch an online resource that will function as a one-stop job shop. This website is called the BC Farm Fish and Food Job Connector. Well, I haven't been able to get out and travel around the province like I normally do over the past few months. Myself and my incredible staff at the Ministry of Agriculture have been meeting virtually with farmers, fishers, food processors, and all of our stakeholders. We have made over 6,000 connections over the last 2.5 months, and we have been listening very carefully. This new Job Connector site has been developed with our stakeholders' concerns in mind. They've told us they're worried about disruptions in their workforce, and they're looking for a new way to attract employees specific to agriculture, fish, and food processing to support their labor needs. At the same time, we're seeing an enormous wave of support from British Columbians who want a strong BC food supply. We're hearing those who want to be BC food heroes. They're passionate about BC food and they want to be part of our food security solution. Whether it's people who are interested in starting full-time jobs in farming and food production, or maybe it's others who are just interested in trying it out seasonally, this site is full of opportunities for everyone. And it showcases the diversity of jobs and careers in agriculture, seafood, food and beverage processing. From those looking for seasonal fruit picking jobs to heavy equipment operators and professionals looking to grow and advance their careers. With this one-stop job site, we are making it easier for employers and employees to connect so we can fill these vacancies and get more British Columbians working to put fresh and local food on our tables. We want to make sure British Columbians are aware of the opportunities right here in our province. There are many, and they are many jobs, and they are in many communities right across BC. At the moment, we have almost 600 jobs posted and waiting for you. And I wasn't kidding when I said they were diverse. We have jobs like these, waiting for hardworking British Columbians like you. A cherry production line worker in the Okanagan, a tractor operator in Surrey, a dairy farm worker in Black Creek, a farm manager in Creston, a farm supervisor in Quesnel, a fish processing plant worker in North Vancouver, a greenhouse worker in Delta, or a berry picker in the Fraser Valley. Our goal is to get more British Columbians involved in agriculture, fish, and food, and give them a chance to become the skilled technicians and workers that BC producers need. The website will help make the connections to do just that. While helping to fill the need for labor is a main priority, we're also supporting our farmers, seafood businesses, and food processors in other areas too. As we continue to adapt in these unique times, we want to make sure we're helping those who put safe, healthy food on our tables. And this is where you come in as consumers. You also have a chance to be a BC food hero by choosing BC products when you shop. We have recently launched programs like Buy BC e-commerce. This is funding that farmers can use to develop new ways to sell products direct to you across the province while maintaining physical distance and safe practices. The move to online sales gives British Columbians the opportunity to continue to buy BC and to buy more BC and to enjoy fresh food while supporting families in communities right across the province. Saying yes to BC food will help our economy recover in the most delicious way. It's not easy adapting to the new normal. And as we know, we're all in this together and we're all trying the best we can. I'm always looking for a silver lining, and the support we are currently seeing for our folks who put foods on our tables is incredible, and it is that silver lining. As a former farmer myself, I've always been very aware of the need for the province to be more self-sufficient, and I believe we're heading down the right path. I'd like to send a huge thank you to everyone involved in the agriculture, fish, food, and beverage sector. Your resilience and courage to adapt during this time is remarkable. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And a huge thanks to all of you as consumers who have shown these hardworking folks how much you believe in them every time you pick up a product that is grown and made here, right in British Columbia. At 7 o'clock each evening, we have been banging pots and pans to honor our frontline workers. At 7:15, let's fill those same pots and pans with BC food. Thank you.
Thank you. As we move into the question period, can I remind you please to press *1 to enter the queue. You are limited to one question, but please feel free to re-enter the queue for a follow-up. I would also ask you to please take your phones off mute. You will not be audible until I call your name. First question this morning is from Andrew McLeod at the Tyee.
Hi, Minister. Sorry not to be right on topic, but you recently had a letter from 23 people, most of them experts in soil and farming. They included Richard Bullock and a couple of former NDP cabinet ministers. Anyway, they were raising concerns about the government's decision to go ahead with establishing an agro-industrial zone. There was concern it would lead to the removal of something like 11,000 hectares from the ALR. I'm wondering if you could explain what it is the government's doing and how you would respond to the concerns.
Sure, and I think people are very concerned about making sure that we're protecting the land that grows our food, and the ALR is an amazing tool that we have in British Columbia. And our government is very committed to doing that, making sure we're preserving that land and getting it into production. I think what we've seen over the last decade is that there is a surge in technology, which we're calling Agrotech, and we're just looking for ways to find a place for that to happen. It's not necessarily on the agricultural land reserve, but we are finding that businesses are needing a place to set up. For example, there's a business in Vancouver called Terramera, and they are spread out in office buildings all around downtown Vancouver. And they are doing pilot projects on farms across BC to reduce the use of pesticides in fields. And so it's companies like that that we're trying to support and trying to make sure that we've got a place for them. And so Agrotech is part of the future of agriculture, but that's not to say that it's going to take away from the parts of agriculture that we believe in so much.
Next question is from Lisa Cordasco, CHLY.
Good morning, Minister. Can you explain what the barriers are in accessing temporary foreign workers? And, related to that, who do you expect will be applying for these jobs on this new website?
Thank you. That's a great question. So this year we had received about 1,500 workers into our province from other countries, mostly Mexico, before COVID-19 happened and things came to a stop. And so we had to grapple with how do we allow these workers to come into BC, making sure they're healthy, making sure the farms are safe where they're arriving. And so the barriers in place were just around the protocols for COVID-19. We've had an agreement with the Mexican government for about about 15 years, where we receive about 6,000 Mexican workers every season. We also receive workers from Jamaica and other countries. But given that there's been these difficulties this year, it really called for us to look at how do we incent domestic workers. And so this website is about attracting domestic British Columbian workers here.
Vaughn Palmer, Vancouver Sun.
Good day, Minister. It was your ministry that last September first alerted British Columbians to the threat of the Asian giant hornet. Now that they have been spotted in White Rock, Washington State, and apparently Langley, what are you doing about it?
Well, this is your favorite topic, Vaughn. You still haven't made it up to my office to take a look at the sample I have of one of these hornets. So this is it's a great concern. They are a threat to our honeybee hives. We have seen that they're coming out of their winter sleep and they're emerging. I think one was identified in Langley. So what we're doing is we're asking people to report them when they see them, and we're trying to track them. But we also see that they are, we see them identified in Washington. And so these insects have no borders, and we have to keep an eye on it. But having the public identify them when they see them is part of the work that needs to be done.
Next question is from Tanya Fletcher, CBC.
Minister, I believe you said in your opening remarks up to 8,000 worker shortfall coming up for agricultural laborers. How significant is that impact going to be, and how many of those jobs do you think this online portal will help fill? And yeah, where are we expected to be? That sounds quite significant.
Yeah, it's about 6,000 to 8,000 from our estimates right now. We do know that farmers and producers are scaling back some of their production to reflect the labor that's available to them. I was on a Zoom call with the mushroom industry yesterday, and they are in fact scaling back because they're not able to access the labor that they need. And the markets for them have changed significantly with the downturn in the restaurant industry. And so we do see some adjustments coming from the agriculture industry, but we will still see, as we get into the bounty of our season, we will see a deficit in labor. And so we have about 600 jobs listed right now on the job site. The job site will require employers populating the site with the jobs that are available. So now that it's launched, we hope to see more jobs being advertised. And we're definitely going to be doing our part to spread the word right across the province. I think there's a lot of people that they don't even know the diversity of jobs that are available in agriculture. And so it'll be our job to let them know.
Richard Zisman, Global News.
Minister, will there be additional training offered to some of these workers, as you mentioned, that may not be familiar with the sorts of opportunities involved in the sector? And what sort of workers are you trying to recruit in terms of what sectors are you pulling them away from, or what previous experience may these people have had?
Great question. And so some workers may not have any experience whatsoever, and so there will be basic training given to workers. It'll either be done by the farms themselves, but there's also resources that we have in the ministry around an apprentice system. We work with the Young Agrarians, who does land matching for us, and they also offer training opportunities. But there are opportunities that through advanced education to increase your skill level. For example, in the Okanagan, we do have a need for labor in the vineyards, and we don't necessarily want somebody right off the street walking into a vineyard and practicing viticulture skills. So they will need some training there, but all of that is being looked at. And just because you don't have any skills in agriculture doesn't mean you can't learn. And then, of course, we have very highly skilled opportunities, forklift drivers, truck drivers, anything like that. And so there's a diversity of skills that are required, but it also means that there's a huge amount of opportunity for everyone.
Next question is from Matt Preprost, Alaska Highway News.
Hi, good morning, Minister. As you probably know, the 2019 harvest here in the Peace was wet and miserable, 50% and at least on average crops left in the field, in some cases up to 100%. Farmers up here are struggling with the production insurance program and being forced to harvest useless crops this spring, which means they won't get a chance to seed a lot of acres here for 2020. Are you considering any changes to the production insurance program, and will you cover the full losses for farmers from last year?
Thank you for the question. So we have been in contact quite often with the grain growers. The business risk management programs or insurance programs for agriculture are a federal provincial cost sharing that happens. And so I'm in a weekly meeting with the federal agriculture minister, making sure that she understands our needs here and the challenges that we have. Every province is different, but I have a very good relationship with her, and I believe our weekly meetings and the announcements that are coming out from the federal government around supports are reflecting what the provinces are communicating to the federal minister. That being said, the grain industry up north has changed, and some of that is to do with climate change and the opportunities for drying crops. And so we're looking at what it would take to get a processing facility that maybe perhaps will assist with drying that needs to happen, and then some value added. I think these are the opportunities that we're seeing as we see difficulties and challenges that might be annually, but we also are seeing what happens when with a COVID-19 lens and how we need to become more sustainable and to add the most value to the crops we're producing. So I look forward to meeting with the grain growers every time. I think it's an area that we can make a lot of progress.
Glenda Looms, Vancouver Sun.
Yeah, thanks for taking my question. I just wondered if any thought has been given to ways to make these jobs more attractive to people. I know that a lot of them, or some of them at least, pay minimum wage, and it's not easy work picking in the fields. I wondered if there was ways to incentivize British Columbians to take these jobs rather than perhaps relying on government assistance.
Yeah, well, I think part of this website is showcasing the diversity of jobs that are available, and there's no doubt about it. It's hard work. Agriculture, fishing, food processing, these are tough jobs, but they're also very diverse. So I can tell you the jobs in the greenhouse industry, one of the things that gets highlighted is you're never going to have a day in the rain if you work in a greenhouse. But there's a lot of opportunities picking berries out in the fields in Abbotsford, out throughout the Fraser Valley. It really just depends what your interests are, but I think really British Columbians have to be able to see themselves in these jobs, and I don't know if we've done a very good job up to this point to reflect our British Columbians, the faces of British Columbians in the jobs that are available. And so, we have a lot of new and young farmers that really want to get into farming. It's a different type of demographic that we're seeing. There's a lot of women that are interested between the ages of 30 and 40. They're either changing careers and they want to be involved in a food security and a food system. And so it's making sure that we're telling those stories about who is being attracted into agriculture so people can see themselves there.
Next question is from Grant Warkentin, CKCC-FM.
Hello, Minister. Thank you for taking my question. It's about Vancouver Island farmers who have a number of unique logistical issues, particularly meat and dairy farmers. Dairy farmers milk almost all of it, if not all of it, goes off island to be processed and then comes back. Vancouver Island meat farmers also have to send their produce off island to be processed and then sent back. I'm wondering, what is the BC government doing to help these farmers who have to deal with these sort of logistical and processing challenges, some of which are caused by government regulations?
Well, thanks for the question. So that really speaks to looking at the agriculture, food, and fish sector as a system. And so we have heard loud and clear that communities want to be able to be more self-sufficient. We've been looking at meat regulations, for example, over the last 3 years. We're kind of getting to an end of a process there where there'll be changes and new opportunities for abattoirs to set up smaller scale in communities that are asking for them. But it really speaks to a system that is set up, that is focused and centered around larger scale processing facilities and the efficiencies that that brings. But I think we can, after going through a situation like we've just gone through, it's important that we look at dispersing the opportunities right across the province and making sure that we're resilient because of it.
Next question is from Peter Mitham, Country Life.
Good morning, Minister. Just curious to know why we need another job site, given that there's a federal job bank available, and Work BC, I believe, also has listings, and in fact was recently telling employers that they had a significant number of workers currently available in regions such as the Upper Fraser Valley.
Right. So our website interacts with Jobs BC website, but what ours does, it really highlights the jobs that are available in agriculture, fish, and food, and it pre-sorts the jobs. So people can look at jobs in agriculture, fish, and food regionally and by particular skills. And so I think that it really focuses in on those jobs. The other job sites are great as well, but this one is specific to attracting British Columbians to agriculture.
And we have time for one more question today. Albert Sue, Fairchild TV.
Hi, Minister. The federal government has offered a youth program to create 700 new jobs in agriculture. Will this new BC government initiative also focus more on providing jobs to youth in BC?
Well, we're hoping that youth will be attracted to the jobs that we're advertising through this website, definitely. The federal government has put a program forward to entice students to get into the workforce. We're making sure that we're seeing where we fit into that program and make sure that we are encouraging our youth here in British Columbia to do the same thing. It's a difficult time, and so we have to make sure, along with advertising these jobs, that we're making sure employers are aware and are following the COVID-19 protocols to make sure they're a safe place for people to work. And I've been really heartened to work with the agriculture, fish, and food industry because they're putting everything they've got into making sure it's a safe workplace. And so I think once we get those messages out to students and all age demographics, that we will see people being interested.
That's all the time we have for today. Thank you very much.